Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you all. So today we're going to be covering Labrynth. I'm particularly using a Furniture Labrynth build. We are of course utilizing the 2 new support cards that came out for the deck, and although the deck only got 2 new cards, I think of all the new support that came out in the most recent selection pack, Labrynth is going to be the deck that comes out on top of all those. It is the one out of all of them that I think has the best shot at being a meta mainstay. So the 2 cards that the deck got are Lady Labrynth of the Silver Castle. For those who are not familiar with what this card does, well, you control a set card, it can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. More importantly, if a Labrynth card or effect or any normal trap card is activated, you can special Lady from your hand in defense mode. She does come out in defense mode, which does matter sometimes. And then when a normal trap card is activated, you can set a normal trap card with a different name directly from your deck. So that's obviously very good to have not only another big Labrynth monster alongside Lovely Labrynth, but also one that can summon itself from hand and also tutor normal trap cards directly from the deck. The other new support card is of course going to be the Big Welcome Labrynth. Much like the first Welcome Labrynth, this one can special a Labrynth monster from your deck, but also this one can summon from hand or graveyard as well. You then return a monster on your field to your hand. That might seem like a downside, but it actually doesn't really matter if you grab, for example, the Lady Labrynth, because Lady Labrynth can then just special summon herself by her own effect anyway, because you activated a Labrynth card or effect, as well as a normal trap card, of course. This card also has a minor bouncing ability from the graveyard. You can use it to bounce a monster on the field, either you or your opponents, depending on whether or not you control a level 8 or higher Fiend monster. So, yeah, those new support cards definitely added a lot to the deck, namely the ability to have more than one play. The only play the deck really had before was just going for Lovely Labrynth and popping cards in your opponent's field in hand. Now there's a ton of decision points, and I gotta be honest with you all, this is kind of one of those decks where, like, I feel a little bit out of my depth, I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely a departure from the style of deck I normally play. Of course, normally, as you all know, I like to play these big pile decks, particularly synchro-based ones that end on like 4 different monsters and so on and so forth. This deck is definitely a much slower and more controlling deck. It's a more back row based deck, although it's not a stun deck. We're not actually playing any floodgates like Skill Drain, Rivalry Goes In, or anything like that. There is actually a build of Labrynth that does play more stuff like that, more back row based build that foregoes some of the furniture that kind of makes up the Furniture Labrynth build and plays more like, again, back rows, potentially floodgates, as well as Lord of the Heavenly Prison. What the quote-unquote furniture cards actually do, particularly the Chandragalier and Stovie Torbie, allow you to set up your Labrynth trap cards more easily for your deck, and the Cuckoo Clock will allow you to activate them that same turn, which is pretty rad. We're only playing 2 Welcome Labrynth, although you could definitely play a third. I have a third that I actually really thought about playing here, just ultimately decided not to. One card that I probably should be playing, but just haven't committed to crafting because it's a UR, and I, to be honest, don't plan on playing this deck probably as much as some other decks here on the channel, is Tears of the Overroot. If you do plan on making Labrynth a mainstay deck of yours, I do highly recommend getting a copy of this card. You only need the one, but it's a pretty good effect, and is able to trigger the Lovely Labrynth because it removes cards from the field. So that's pretty rad there. Again, most decks should probably, if you're going to be playing Labrynth consistently, should have this card, but if you're like me on a slightly more budget build, you can definitely get away without playing a copy here. I should also have a second Natis. I thought I had a second Natis. I don't know what happened to it. Maybe I just accidentally dismantled it at some point, but ideally you do want to Natis because of Pot of Extravagance. We are playing the Dogmatika Punishment, so the second Natis, if we happen to banish one off Extravagance, we can still potentially have a copy. Again, just a slight budget change from what I'm doing here. Oh, we're also playing the Ishizu Shufflers, Keldo, and Mudora. I don't think you 100% need these, but they're very good discards with the Labrynth furniture cards here. Of course, the Stove and the Chandragalier. So, let's see. I think that's about all I have to say about the build. Oh, of course, we also play a nice suite of very heavy disruption cards. Eradicator did go to 1 for good reason, but it's also very searchable by the Lady Labrynth, so a lot of the time it doesn't super matter. This card is pretty good to search out with the Lady Labrynth typically, but you don't always have to turbo into it 100% of the time. But from my admittedly very limited experience so far, it does often end up being one of the better choices. So I think that's about everything I have to say about the build so far. Again, I am honestly not that experienced at Labrynth, but I'm definitely going to be practicing more and trying to talk with some more experienced lab players to see if I can get a better grasp on this deck, and then we can potentially come back to it in the future at that point in time. So let's go ahead and break it down card by card, and then we'll look at some gameplay. So we're on 1 PSY-Frame Driver, 1 Labrynth Coup Clock, 3 Maxx, 2 PSY-Framegear Gamma, 3 Labrynth Stovie Torbie, 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, 3 Labrynth Chandragalier, 3 Arianna the Labrynth Servant, 1 Keldo the Sacred Protector, 1 Mudora the Sword Oracle, 1 Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle, 1 Lady Labrynth of the Silver Castle, 3 Pot of Extravagance, 1 Labrynth Labyrinth, 1 Eradicator Epidemic Virus, 1 Dimensional Barrier, 3 Infinite Impermanence, 1 Dogmatika Punishment, 1 Ice Dragon's Prison, 2 Welcome Labrynth, and then 3 Big Welcome Labrynth. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Elder Entity Tis, 1 Garura Wings of Restorant Life, 1 5-Headed Dragon, 1 Wind Pegasus Ignister, 1 PSY-Framelord Omega, 1 DDD Wave King Caesar, 1 number 41 Bagosska, the terribly tired Tapir, 1 Mereologic Aggregator, 1 Divine Arsenal, AA-ZEUS Sky Thunder, 1 DDD Deviser King Deus Machinex, 1 Linkuriboh, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 Sprite Elf, and then 2 Muckraker from the Underworld. There is our list. Now let's look at some gameplay. Okay, so our first opponent is going to be on Trap Tricks. These games are recorded in Master 5, and as anyone else who is at this rank, or probably Master 1 is true of this as well, and Diamond 5 as well, there's just a lot of control decks right now, of course, with those kind of being the focus of the new pack, and I mean, we're playing control deck here too. We expect to see a lot of stuff like Trap Tricks, Labrynth, but we encounter some other control decks here later as well. Opponent's going to start with the Trap Tricks, what is this one? Pudica. We have the PSY-Framegear Gamma for that, but the opponent's going to Ash Blossom that. So they will get to get the Trap Trip Garden, but that's honestly fine. I was mainly looking to just negate and destroy the Pudica so they couldn't summon Sarah like we're doing here. But again, if my opponent doesn't end up summoning Sarah, hopefully it's not going to be too big of a deal here. Gonna lead with the Extravagance, banishing 6 of course to draw a couple of cards. Second Ash Blossom and an Ice Dragon's Prison. Pretty meh, honestly. Gonna try to activate the Chandragalier, but the opponent's got a Called by the Grave. That's pretty annoying, as we could have potentially set up the either of the Welcome Labyrinths and then activate it with the Coup Clock, sorry. One of the big things that I am honestly struggling with myself with this deck is that I'm having a bit of a difficult time. Oh, by the way, I did know that the Sarah wouldn't get removed by the Ice Dragon's Prison, but I wanted to make sure that I was going to proc its effect with the Ice Dragon's Prison so I can negate and destroy it with the PSY-Framegear Gamma. But yeah, like I was saying, I think the decision points that I struggle with a lot in this deck are knowing which of the welcome trap cards to go for, and also which lady to go for a decent amount of the time. Usually you just go for the lovely, or I anyway have been going for the lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle, and then setting up the lovely. But, I don't know, just knowing which one of those to go for and also which welcome trap to set up, huge decision points that I do often find myself struggling with. So here my Trap Tricks opponent and I are kind of just staring at one another as we both try to find some kind of an out. I'll set this Imperm up across from their back row just in case it becomes relevant. It seems they're not top decking much of anything at this point either. We do get a Stovie Torbie here, so I'm going to go ahead and fire that off, send the Coup Clock, and keep the Ash Blossom in hand just in case my opponent tries to get some relevant plays started. So Big Welcome Labyrinth is going to get set up here. I'm just going to go ahead and fire it off during their draw phase. They have a Maxx, but I'm going to Ash Blossom because it's pretty clear their hand isn't great, and I want to keep their hand bad and really just stop them from drawing cards. So Big Welcome Labyrinth is going to ultimately get the Lady Labyrinth. Stovie Torbie's effect will activate to try to summon itself back to the field, but my opponent is going to concede before that ends up happening. So, yeah. Again, like I said, the kind of control matchups are pretty common right now in Master 5, and a lot of the time you and your opponent when you're both on control and neither of you really are top decking anything relevant to get the ball rolling, just kind of end up staring at one another like we did here for a few turns. But ultimately managed to come out on top of this one. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next duel here. Alright, so not any of the newer control decks that have come out, but we're going to be up against Runick Stun here, which is starting to pick up popularity a little bit again. We did actually get a new Runick card, so to be fair, that alone I don't think is like enough of a reason for Runick to have the resurgence it's kind of been having, but I think it's also just the meta is becoming more favorable for Runick again. For a long time, like during Tier 0 meta, for example, the Shizu Shufflers, when they were at more than one copy each, you know, they would be very detrimental to the Runick strategy, being able to shuffle back the cards that they're trying to draw off of with Fountain. But get a normal summon Arianna here. Opponent's got a Runick Freezing Curses. I'm just going to chain the Welcome Labyrinth now. If this had been Big Welcome, this actually would be great, because what I could do here is bounce the Arianna and still get the search, but it's only regular Welcome, so no such luck there. Opponent's going to then use the Flashing Fire to destroy my lovely Labyrinth. That's relatively fine. I don't know, it is annoying, but they're not doing anything too scary so far. I'm just going to battle with Arianna, set up all my back rows again, setting Imperm across from my opponent's back row, and then passing back over. I've got one of each Welcome Labyrinth trap card down. Opponent's going to start off their turn with an Inspector Border. That's a little bit annoying, but I can just Imperm it. So I'm going to hold the Imperm as well as my Welcome trap cards until my turn, so that way I can, flip up the Imperm. That'll negate the Border as well as whatever card is across from Imperm. Opponent's going to respond with there can be only one, but we can pretty easily play around this in multiple regards, actually. Going to use the Big Welcome Labyrinth to bring back the lovely Labyrinth and then return the Arianna to hand. This will not only keep one monster on my field, but it'll also proc the lovely Labyrinth effect, which will allow me to destroy there can be only one. Chandragalier will also get to add itself back, and Welcome Labyrinth can set itself back up as well. Alright, at this point my opponent only really has two unknown factors left with two cards in hand, and given that they're on Runick Stun, it's not very likely they're going to be having something like an Ash Blossom here. So I'm going to use the Welcome Labyrinth on this the Lady Labyrinth. I'm going to constantly get these mixed up. I'll use Arianna to grab the Labyrinth here. I could have grabbed a Big Welcome, but you know, I've already got my Welcome Labyrinths in rotation here, so I figure I can just kind of sit on those for the rest of the duel. Plus my opponent's only at 900 at this point anyway, and I have a pretty overwhelming board advantage. They are going to even lead me here, which I could have actually, I think, played around, potentially. Excuse me. Oh no, I forgot to, what happened was I forgot to play around the fact that they would have had two cards. They have two cards, so I get to keep two cards. Also, what I should have done, I remember now, I should have actually bounced the Lady Labyrinth and not the Lovely Labyrinth. That was actually a pretty big misplay in the face of evenly, because what I could have done is bounce the Lady to hand. That would have removed a monster, so my Lovely Labyrinth would have triggered, and then Lady Labyrinth would have still triggered as well, instead of bouncing the Lovely like I did. So that was a misplay on my part. It ultimately didn't end up mattering. Opponent's just going to ended up conceding pretty much right afterward anyway, but all the same, I could have still played around that a little bit better there. Still have a couple more games to check out here, so I'm just going to go ahead and go straight into the next one. Okay, so here we're going to be up against just a slightly more traditional stun deck, but I remember this game very well, and I'm actually very eager to show this one off. We get to go first here, which is nice. And we open up the Eradicator, which is also very nice, especially against a deck like Stun. So I'm going to start off with the Extravagance here, banishing my top 6 to get a couple of relevant cards, including a Labrynth Stovie Torbie. I'm just going to go ahead and use that to set up the Big Welcome by sending the Chandragalier, keeping my PSY-Framegear Gamma online. So opponent's going to go ahead and move straight to battle phase. Now, when your opponent goes second and they move straight to battle phase, you know, what does that tell you? Of course, that tells you that you're about to get even lead, almost assuredly. So what I want to do here, as soon as I see it move to battle phase, I want to flip my toggle to on, because I need to do all this stuff before the end of my opponent's battle phase when they can activate evenly. Basically, I'm going to Eradicator my opponent for trap cards since I know they're going to drop it evenly on me, and just go ahead and play from there, because I'll also have information on their hand at that point as well. So I'm going to start with a Big Welcome for Lady Labyrinth. that will allow me to summon and then bounce the Lady Labyrinth. This will also proc my pieces of furniture, the stove, the chandelier, but it'll also allow me to summon the Lady Labyrinth from deck. So we'll get the pieces of furniture. It might seem weird to be adding these cards back to my end board, given that I'm, anticipating it evenly, but again, I'm doing all this before the end of the battle phase, that way I can anticipate it, or get rid of it before it becomes a factor here. So lovely Labyrinth is coming down. I set up a Dogmatika Punishment because I figured that was probably good enough here, and you might notice I hit 3 cards there, so that was pretty good. Oh, the replay went too quickly. The opponent's remaining cards were, I actually wrote them down as I was playing the game here. They were Rose, the Sky Striker card, Rose, Hydralander, which is interesting given they're not on an actual Highlander deck, and Lightning Storm. But you might have seen over here on the side, I did manage to hit not 1, not even 2, but 3 copies of Evenly out of my opponent's hand. Holy moly. I've gotten double Evenly a lot, to the point where I'll even try to, like, if my opponent goes to activate 1 Evenly, sometimes I kind of play assuming they have another and see if I can set up another negate. But I've never actually come up against somebody who opened all 3 Evenlies, and here we managed to snag all 3 copies off this Eradicator. Opponent's going to follow up on their main phase 2 with the Lightning Storm for my back rows, but ultimately, yeah, they just decided to concede because there's not really anything they can do, and I can just use my furniture to set up more welcome Labyrinth trap cards in my back row. But yeah, Eradicator hitting 3 copies of Evenly, that's pretty great. I don't think I'm going to resolve a better Eradicator pretty much in my whole Master Duel career, but we do have one more duel to take a look at. Let's go straight to this last game here. And Sky Striker is going to be our final opponent. It really was just control mirrors for days, isn't it? Kind of want to, like, I don't know, for kind of similar reasons that I don't necessarily like hitting top rank super quickly in any given season. I kind of feel the need to get off of Master 5 now. I just feel like Master 2 to 4 is going to be like the best gameplay you're going to get, honestly. So here, I'm just going to set the Welcome Labyrinth and then use my furniture to set up the Big Welcome. I'm going to keep the Ash Blossom and PSY-Framegear Gamma live in my hand. But it's going to start off with the Sky Striker Mobilize Engage, but I am going to, of course, use the Ash Blossom against it. They're going to use the Linkage as a Chain Link 3 here, but sending the Engage, it's not like Imperm, it doesn't stop it from getting negated by Ash Blossom, but it seems what they're really trying to do is just set up this Kagari here. Kagari's effect will activate, but I do also have the PSY-Framegear Gamma in my hand. Unfortunately for me, though, my opponent's got a Ghost Spell, so they will be getting back their, I'm presuming they're getting back the Engage, not the Linkage here, but thankfully, PSY-Framegear Gamma is not once per turn, so even if it does get negated by something like Ash Blossom or Ghost Spell in this case, you can still use it later in the turn there. Looks like Ray is coming down, followed by the Mecha Modules. Opponent's going to attack directly. I decided to save and see if they were going to use the Ray in the battle phase here. That's why I didn't chain either of my Welcome Trap cards to stop myself from taking damage. But they don't. They're just going to go into Shizuku, and when they go to activate the effect during the end phase, now I'm going to fire off the Gamma. We did take, what, 3,200 points of damage, but I think that's fine. I think it's worth taking the damage to have an opportunity to use the Gamma here. Now, to be fair, the Shizuku is a bit low impact, and they do get their Ray back, but at the same time, I think that's still better than the Gamma just not being live. And actually, what we can do with this Big Welcome Labyrinth is we can summon the Lady Labyrinth and then bounce the Driver to hand, and that'll make the future Gamma potentially live if that happens to come up. I now get to get my pieces of furniture back during the end phase. Welcome Labyrinth is going to get the lovely Labyrinth out, and then Lady Labyrinth is going to even get to set up another piece of back row there. I'm going to set up the Eradicator because we're playing in Sky Striker, and it's very easy to call spells and make my opponent extremely sad for pretty much the rest of the duel. Plus they ended on Hayate, which, yeah, doesn't really do much of anything going into my turn. I mean, to be fair, I guess neither does Shizuku really, but Shizuku at least had the search, but we stopped that. So, yeah, knowing that I have the Eradicator and I still have a turn coming up on top of that, my opponent ultimately decides to just concede, giving us the win. So, yeah, managed to wade Labrynth through a sea of control mirrors. But again, I do have to give the caveat here that I am much less experienced with decks like this than I am stuff like the infinite amount of pile decks that I play. So definitely going to be brushing up on my Labrynth skills before I play it next time, and I can hopefully show some improvement at that point in time. But that's all we've got for today's video, so let's go ahead and just move now to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me, not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation. You do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot, as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.